My name's Christine. I am starting a new channel called Transformational Motherhood because I feel that I myself was transformed by becoming a mother just a few months ago in June of 2021. So I wanted to start this as an opportunity to share motherhoods, its ups, its downs, its excitement, its challenges, all the things that encompass motherhood, including, being a mom to your first child, who you birthed yourself, maybe one you adopted, maybe someone else's child, like you are a step parent, which I also am. So I want to be a resource and also just a cool place to come in this channel of the internet that maybe you can gain a little bit insight from, or maybe even you just gain some stuff you're like, I absolutely hate whatever that lady said. Cool. I don't care. I'm sure that I hate some of the stuff I say too. So, without further ado, this is my first video. I'm going to be pretty simple with my videos, just recording in front of a camera, not really doing much video editing, because quite frankly, I'm a new mother and I don't have the time right now. I also work a full-time job providing for my family. My husband is a stay-at-home dad. He also has a YouTube channel, but it's also relatively small, a little bit bigger than mine, which is at 5 subscribers right now, and they're my friends, so that's totally fine. Not bashing him for that at all. Super supportive. Happy he's getting some people interested in what he has to say, but I just want to make abundantly clear that I'm trying. I'm going to be trying, but it's not going to be like a video edited channel by any means. So unless someone hears this and is like, I really want to edit for that girl. So anyway, this video is all about my reaction to Alyssa Milano's Me Becoming Mom podcast on People Magazine's podcast. So I heard about this through the grapevine, actually. A friend of mine posted how a lot of conservatives were bashing her because she compared her childbirth to experiences where she had been sexually assaulted. Number one, excuse me, unless you've been sexually assaulted or you know someone who has, or I don't even know where I'm going with that, but more essentially, don't judge people. Like, calm down. What do you mean? Like, I have been sexually assaulted. Many women have. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's pretty bad. There's many women who have been sexually assaulted, if you know women, which I'm sure you do. And yeah, that was actually what I said immediately when my gynecologist was basically telling me that anywhere in my gynecologist's office, any of those women would be available that day. I couldn't have my choice of a doctor, couldn't have my choice of a midwife. Like, whoever was on call, and they had access. And that's basically what Alyssa was saying, that during childbirth, when you're at a hospital, everyone has access to your vagina. What? Yeah, that sounds rapey. As soon as I heard that, I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe there's an alternative. Thankfully, I have wonderful insurance through my employer, and I was able to go to a birth center where that was not the case, where there were a handful of women who would possibly be on call to give birth to my child, and I would be basically in this little suite inside of a birthing center in Northern Virginia where it's basically an Airbnb. There's a beautiful tub, there's a huge bed, there's a TV, I can get up and walk around whenever I want to. They have a little kitchen. If I want to put food in, I can order food. I can bring people in, and I don't have to wear a mask to birth. I'm sorry, like, you can be all for masks. Really cool. Don't mess with mothers birthing. Seriously. That's like, you're asking for trouble. Because women, when you're birthing, the last thing you want to worry about is whether you can breathe. Like, and newsflash, contractions, yeah, they take a lot of breath. It does. I labored for 4 48 plus hours. I can't remember exact time because like I said, went to a birthing center, didn't do the hospital route. But in typical scenarios, when you are giving birth in a hospital, they basically tell you to come in like as soon as you think you're in labor. No, that doesn't make sense. Or they'll just admit you anyway, even if they've told you not to. But if you're dilated to a certain extent, they'll let you in. That's not a good idea, and the reason why is because you could be in early stage labor. There's essentially 3 stages of labor, right? Like, first stage is your like early stage. You have early stage and then late stage, first stage essentially. And please don't knock me if I'm getting these terminologies incorrect. As long as I'm getting the premise correct, I don't think it really matters. So get on me if you want, but I don't really care. So essentially, early stage is you just beginning. It's like you've lost your mucus plug. Maybe you didn't, but I had like a textbook birth, so I did. You lose that, and then probably within the next day or two, you're going to be in labor. For me, it was like I was having my heavy period that I used to have, and sorry, I'm going to be very vocal here. So if you're my family member and you're like, I don't want to watch that, okay, cool, don't watch. That's fine. No one's making anyone watch it. So lost my mucus plug, and then next day I was in labor. I could feel it. It was coming and going. My contractions were really far apart, like 15 minutes apart. But I was in labor. That was the beginning of labor. Some women feel that, and they go to the hospital immediately. Okay. But if you do, you're at more of a risk of the doctor telling you that you are not progressing fast enough later on because, oh, heaven forbid, your body isn't ready to push out a baby, like a full 8 to 10 pounds, maybe smaller, maybe a little bit bigger baby out of your organs that are tiny, but you're not ready to do it in the amount of time that they want you to do it. Pardon me? No. That's not how this works. My body, my choice, right? Like, yeah. My body, my choice. So, how does this relate to Alyssa Milano? I promise I'm getting there. So essentially, Alyssa Milano's interview, she was super, it was good. I liked it. And believe me, I have mixed feelings about her. Like, I'm a big Charmed fan. Legit. I own every season. I can actually pull out my copy right here. Like, Alyssa Milano. Loved her in Charmed. Here's my favorite though. Piper's awesome, and so is Paige, and quite frankly, I love her. But anyway, loved her work. Always was a big fan growing up. But I wanted to critique this podcast in a slight way because I saw some inconsistencies, and I see this with a lot of people. And believe me, I'm sure I have inconsistency too. If you see it while you're viewing my channel and you see me contradicting myself, let me know. I probably will be like, yeah, I totally did. Whoops. No big deal. But around 14 minutes into her podcast, essentially, she was having issues, issues as the hospital was saying that progressing with her labor, and they were saying that there was no way that her kid was going to come out naturally, so she had to have a C-section with both of her children. Again, I'm not a doctor. Well, I don't think I've said this yet, but I'm not a doctor. Don't take medical advice from me. Please, consult your doctor. But also, don't just believe them because they're doctors. Like, I'm going to repeat that again. Don't just believe people because they are doctors. Newsflash, any doctor who graduated, even if they're a C student or a D student or whatever it is at the medical school that they attended, still get a doctorate. Yeah. So they might be stupid. Or they might not be stupid. Like, they might be still more intelligent than the average bear, but they might not be the top of their class. They might not be staying up on things. A lot of doctors don't stay up on things because they don't have to. Legally, like, at least in New York, I don't know about other states, because I knew a lot about stuff in New York when I lived there, but they're not required to. PAs are. PAs have to stay up on things and, like, go to workshops every few years and keep renewing to, you know, be up in their field. Doctors don't. So take that for what it's worth. But anyway, be your own advocate. Always. But, like, I always have been. But when it came to birthing my baby girl, yeah, don't mess with me. I'm a mother now. We're not playing around. So anyway, and not knocking cesareans by any means. Cesareans are sometimes necessary. But if you have a low risk of, you know, having a cesarean deemed by your doctor or whatever, then, like, you should question why they're saying you're failing to progress, or why, you know, you're not able to meet the guidelines that they've set up. Like, no, my body, my choice. I as Melissa Milano was saying before, talking, like, how she wanted to, I guess she wrote in her book. I haven't read her book, but from the podcast, it had been implied that she wrote in her book about how it was natural or bust, or something along those lines is what she was saying. And okay, but she ended up having a C-section, and she's still a mother. She still carried her baby. Beautiful. That's all that matters. Your baby's healthy, happy. I'm happy for you. However, C-sections are not natural. They're only should be used for, like, the most extreme cases. And they're saying, like, who are you to say that a head couldn't come out of my vagina? Why would my body produce something that wasn't able to get out? Like, unless there's some, like, I don't think there's just, like, very few instances where that is the case. It's mostly medical staff not being trained in that area. That's why I went to a birthing center, because midwives are trained in that. And that's crazy, because you would think someone who has a doctorate would be trained in all these things, but no, they're I'm going to get into a lot of other things eventually on this channel. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. However, I am a true advocate in your body being able to know what it can and cannot handle. Because, I mean, like I said, my body, my choice. But anyway, so basically Alyssa had her child. She had advocated before that her body knew what was best with her miscarriages. So she had a few miscarriages before she was given, you know, the gift of a child. And I guess she had some abortions. And that can be traumatizing in itself. A miscarriage, an abortion, anything. Anything could be traumatizing. Not knocking anything, but I'm just saying. It can be traumatizing. And Alyssa, she knew her body. Her body knew what was going on beforehand. She said that with her one child, I don't know if it was her first or her second. It's been a while since I've listened to this interview, so I apologize. But essentially, with one of her children, she was really good about doing yoga and stretching and all the things that you're supposed to do when you're pregnant. And she still had to have a C-section. Had to. That's what the doctor said. I would say probably didn't. If you did all the things right, if you ate right and you did yoga and you Bradley classes, or you did LeMay's classes or whatever, if you educated yourself throughout your pregnancy, you could probably do it. There's very, very seldom that you need a C-section. It's, to me, C-sections probably been like so. They've been increasing because there's so much money to be made from C-sections. That's how our medical practice is, right? Like, that's how a lot of medical procedures are done. Like, oh, you have a backache. Oh, you've tried physical therapy for a year. Okay, well, let's just do surgery. no, her answer shouldn't always be surgery. Like, change your practices. Change your practices first. Your body does know what's best. So, anyway, she advocated that her body knew what was right in the beginning, and then suddenly it didn't. And that's just so inconsistent to me. And I'm sorry, Alyssa, if you ever watch this. I think that's inconsistent. And I hope that you would understand why I think that. Because your body in the beginning knew what was up. Obviously, it had those miscarriages because your body wasn't ready. And you said yourself you've dealt with that and you had to go to therapy and everything for that. I totally get it. I've had to go to therapy for a lot of things too. Probably would have been that if I had one of those. Thankfully, I've never had to have that experience. I pray that I never do. I pray that no one does. But when you do, it's wonderful and healthy that you're able to deal with it. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing more beautiful than being able to deal with your traumas. Because hurt people. And once you can heal your own traumas, you can look at the traumas of others in a more empathetic light. So, there's that. And I just want to point that how important it is to recognize that women who have gone through sexual assault, and men too, I mean, it's also traumatizing for men, but I'm talking to a woman audience right now in this sense because biologically only women can give birth. I said it. And if you're a trans man, maybe you can give birth. But that means you still have your woman ovaries. And that's fine. Happy for you. Happy in whatever stage of life you're at, whatever stage you're in your life is a beautiful place to be. Because that's where you are and where you can begin. You can end and you can begin, right? But if you have ovaries, you have woman parts that are giving birth. So, if you're giving birth and you've been through sexual assault, it is terrifying to be told that anyone can come in and touch your vagina at any point during the day. They can just look in and see if you're dilated. They can see if you're progressing. They can come touch whatever they want, and you have to sign the waiver at the beginning that they cannot be held liable for anything that happens because you've consented to it. Even if you haven't consented to it personally, even if you've told the doctor while you're laying there, I do not want you to touch me, and they touch you, you've signed away your consent. And that, to me, yeah, that's rapey. That's super rapey. It reminds me of the Chris D'Elia skit. I don't know if you're a comedian fan. Hopefully you are, because comedy brings joy to everyone. But Chris D'Elia has a skit from a few years ago. I think it was his Incorrigible skit on Netflix, where he's basically making the point that women always have to protect their vagina, right? Like, no matter where we go, there's always some dude creepily hitting on us. Not always true. Comedy skit. Bear with me. But he's like, I would hate to be a woman. I'd be sitting on a stool with a skirt, and I'd be crossing my legs, and I'd just be like, you over there, no, like, because you're like literally karate chopping men to get away from you because they want to have sex with you. What? Yeah, like, I was in my 20s. I've dated. It's kind of like that. Men are creepy. Women can be creepy too, but it can be super awkward. You don't want to feel like that when you're giving birth to your child. You don't want to feel like that ever. But if you're giving birth to your child, it is the most empowering, beautiful thing you get to do in your life. At least in my opinion, from what I experienced at the birthing center. It was moving. The women who, like, one of the women who gave birth to my child had 7 kids and a hospital, all natural. It is possible to have a natural birth in a hospital. It totally is. And she said it was one of the most beautiful births she's ever seen in her life. And they're like, we don't say that to everyone, like, I promise. And it really was. Because honestly, from the very beginning, it was one thing in my life that I felt I could not control. I could control variables. I could eat right. I could do Egoscue exercises. I could read what I needed to read. Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. Hallelujah. I needed that. Obviously, the Bible. Well, not obvious, but I am Christian, so yeah, I read the Bible. I prayed every week, and there all these things I will go into eventually on this channel as well. But there are a lot of things that I did to prepare, but they were controlling the variables. My daughter triggered all the other stuff going on. Like, I didn't choose to get acne when I was pregnant. Believe me. I did not want acne again. I've been a teenager. It was already fun. She triggered everything. And she knew exactly what was up. She's a baby. She was a baby. She didn't know what she was doing, but she did it. That's beautiful science, beautiful biology, beautiful gift from the creation, from the creator. To me, that's God. And I think that's something that Alyssa kind of alluded to in her interview, in her podcast with People magazine. That she said at like 20 minutes in, nothing you can control in parenthood. It's a beautiful love. I couldn't agree more. There is nothing you control in parenthood. I mean, yeah, okay, well, like I said, you can control the variables, but once you give up that control, there is nothing but beauty. There's nothing but beauty. I mean, my little girl, she's almost 5 months old. She started rolling not last week, the week before. And she's already basically crawling. I can't control for that. How could I do that? I give her the variables to help her. I give her the toy a little bit farther away to stimulate her to go get it, or I, whatever it is, I lay out the mat to make sure that her little knees aren't getting all busted because she's crawling around, or scooting around, I should say. But I can't control everything, and I don't want to. I don't want to. So then Alyssa goes on to talk about how her son Milo, after she had the C-section, it sounded like it might have been a gentle C-section, which is beautiful because gentle C-sections allow you to at least stay cognizant enough that you can then have your baby passed right up to you. And I guess her son tried to latch immediately to breastfeed, and she referred to it as perfect machines. That were perfect machines. I agree. I think we're perfect we're perfectly imperfect. But when it comes to our natural biological urges, we know what's up. Like, my daughter started rooting and looking for my breast as soon as she was out. I was like, oh my God, I haven't even been through third stage labor yet, which is when you give birth to the placenta. And I'm already like ready to breastfeed. What? That was crazy. But she was just ready, and we're perfect. We're perfect little machines. We know what's up. Like, she knew it was up. Milo knew it was up. But what's weird is why is it that if we are perfect machines and we know what's up and we know how to trigger our bodies and like our biological urges, they're all everything's going off in the right way to to grow inside of our mothers and then be birthed. Why is it that suddenly this doctor knows more than me? Knows more than my body? What? It makes no sense. The doctor doesn't. I'm sorry. Unless you are me, you do not know what's going on in my body. And my daughter, she was hitching a ride for 9 months. She knew what was up. She knew when she was ready to come out. She was, quote unquote, 10 days late. She wasn't late. She was right on time. Because typically, your due date has a variable. We're perfect, but we're not perfectly timed in that way. And I don't want us to be. I don't want to know that June 14th was her due date and that needed to be her date. I need to be induced if I didn't have her then. No. comes out when she comes out. If she wants to stay in there another month, cool. Maybe she wasn't big enough or comfortable enough to come out yet. Maybe my fears of giving birth were hindering her. I didn't have those, but maybe that was something, you know? We can't control for everything. Christian, like I said. So for me, it's let go and let God. Maybe it's for you. Let go and let vibes. I don't know. I don't care. Because natural is beautiful. C-sections are beautiful. If you've had them, I'm sure, you know, it's amazing that you were able to go through this massive surgery where they've taken out all your organs and reassembled them, and then you're caring for another living being within an hour or two, maybe even a few minutes. What? That's madness to me. So in the interest of time, I'm just gonna kind of speed up because I don't want to bore you too much. But if you're still with me, thank you. Thank you. If you are liking this content so far, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit that little bell to get notified of new videos. I'm going to do my absolute best to have new videos every Wednesday. But who knows? We'll see what happens. So, anyway, Alyssa did say that she took 6 hours of labor before she headed to the hospital. Not sure which kid again, but she took 6 hours to labor at home. That's good. That's not bad. But like I said, for my first, I was in labor for a long time. I was in a labor for, so Sunday night I lost my mucus plug. I think it was Sunday. Yes. Sunday, lost that. No. Sunday I had bloody show. Monday I lost my mucus plug. Once I lost that, I started having some contractions later that evening around 6 o'clock. I had mild contractions for 24 hours until it started getting more close together. I was timing them. And then I was laboring at home, laboring in the bathtub, laboring, walking around the neighborhood, walking around the house. Fun fact, a lot of Amish people, women, when they start laboring, apparently they start a big project so they can distract themselves. I did not do that. I didn't work. I just kind of lounged around and played with my dog. So then around 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, I had been contacting the birthing center to, you know, let them know what was going on, and they were advising me along the way, midwives. But they finally said, yeah, it's time to come in. So I came in and I was dilated to 5 centimeters, which is what you were supposed to be admitted. And then I was there from about 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning until midnight. And I had given birth at 7. And I don't think I actually had much of a transition from like stage 1 into stage 2. Like my transition period was very slim because I just was in the bathtub and I was like, it's time to start pushing, guys. So then 20 minutes later, there was my baby. So, sorry, I had to pause my video for a second. My husband came in. So, yeah, it was a long laboring process. And if I had been at a hospital, they probably would have tried to induce me, given me all sorts of drugs to try and get me to go on. But I was never really in pain. Even giving birth, there was very, like, when she was coming down the canal and getting out, there wasn't all that much discomfort. I just breathed through it. I luckily had a lot of, you know, practice meditating and doing breath work, so I didn't, it was never really a big issue. I never had any drugs. I think after she came out, I had something to help with the afterbirth or something, but it was still like a natural thing. I can't remember exactly, but to help along. I never had any of that, and I'm not knocking women who do. If you do, I get it. Most women don't have the time to research this stuff, or they don't even realize that they should, because unfortunately, as a society, we've just deemed that the experts know all, and they don't. They don't. It's not possible. Any good business model, any good company, any good hospital, any good idea generally is challenged a lot. And they have to, adapt to those challenges. And I'm sure that happens in medical practices, but it's kind of crazy that so much of the birthing process has stayed the same for the last 50 plus years, but our babies are getting healthier. If anything, they're getting sicker. That's another topic. But anyway, with Alyssa Milano's podcast, I really appreciate it. I think she did a good job. I think it's beautiful that she is getting to raise these beautiful children, and that she was able to share her story about sexual assault, miscarriages, and abortion. Many women need to hear that, and all the more power to her for being able to put that vulnerability out there and share it. So thank you, Alyssa, for that, and thank you for just spending your time sharing those stories with your book and the podcast that you were on. Maybe on your podcast, I'm not sure. But if anyone's interested in listening to the podcast, I'll throw the link in the description. I will also throw a link to her book on Amazon if you're interested in purchasing that. I probably will never ever do it because I already have like 800 million books to read. I've read some of those. Not all of those are mine. Some of them are my husband's, so please don't judge me based on the titles, because the weird ones are probably his. I probably have a lot of them are probably his. So yeah, I'll throw that all in the description. Again, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the bell button to get notified of new videos. And thank you for listening this long. I'm sorry if it's been a little bit of a rant. I'm sorry if it's been a little, not as organized as it could be. But here I am. This is me. This is me being vulnerable, talking about my birthing story, talking about being a mother, talking about transformation, and all that goes in between. And I hope that you'll join me here Wednesday. And I pray that you are doing well, that you are able to get all the resources you need. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop a comment below, or pop a comment anyway. Just do it. And you know what? Even if you don't like this content, dislike it. Let me know. Let me know why you don't like it. If I sound like a crazy person, cool. Let me know. Maybe I do. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm having a weird day. I'm too empathetic for you to affect my mood. But anyway, thank you again. I love you guys. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see you here soon.